Whoa, what's up, everybody? I guess we're live. I'm on tonight with a super duper fast guy and recent MotoAmerica Stock 1000 winner, Jayson Uribe. What is up, homie?
What's up, man?
Yeah, again, is the Napa gang signs?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah,
West side.
yeah, yeah. I got yeah,
Oh
the
yeah.
Canon oil filter gang sign, I guess you could say, right?
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. So what's up,
uh,
man? Like I've been looking forward to talking to you, and I know that I you've got a huge smile on your face still, probably from winning
yeah,
at the B,
yeah,
right? The
yeah,
big
that
B.
was fun.
Yeah,
That track is gnarly, man.
yeah. I talked to Bryce Prince the first day after the first day he tested there, and he was like, that place is interesting."
Yeah, yeah, it's got some fast as shit corners. Like turn one on the Beamer, dude, you would just short shift fourth gear, and just as you're tipping the bike in, it would rotate. Like you'd get entry oversteer on the gas, and then you'd chop the throttle and bring the thing back in line. It was just this like, yeah, kind of action. It's crazy.
I like your smile about it, though. So was it a good time or what?
Yeah, no, it was a bunch of fun. Brainerd, it was my it was my first time there, man, and like I was saying to my crew, it was easy to learn, but it was really hard to go fast. So to try and find those like little nuances was interesting. And yeah, the first time that happened in a turn one, like I rolled off and I like checked up and I pulled back in. I was like, dude, I almost like wadded the bike into one. And Julian, the alpha guy, comes over. He's like, "Oh, okay, okay, okay." And so we're looking at the data and we're comparing it to other BMW data that have been there, that I've ridden there, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're just being a bitch, dude. Just fucking get over it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, so let's go." And then that's kind of how the whole weekend
Oh man, I mean, like that's like a pure balls thing, right? I mean, you just gotta like trust it,
went.
right?
Yeah, basically, just try your best to flat track the thing in there and hope it sticks.
Flat track at 100 and how many mile an hour?
It was
60,
180 kilometers an hour, so it's probably like a buck 20 ish, more or less.
120 mile an hour, and you're talking about dirt track in this. That's rad, dude. That's, I
Oh man.
mean, wow. I love that. I love the sound of that. Um,
It's a good time.
I, yeah, I mean, I think it's great, dude. I mean, watching you, like you were scrappy the first day there, right? Like race one, you were scrappy. Obviously, the Honda guy got away.
Yeah, yeah. Hayden is on a different level right now, but I'm
Yeah,
working to try and fix that. So we have a new plan and we'll be there at the ridge. But yeah, the first race, I got a pretty good start. My plan was just to kind of keep up with that pack as long as I could and see where we ended up. And I was
yeah,
so tired of sitting in third place, man. I won't lie. Like I was going clicking off the laps and I was like, I could pass him here, I could pass him here, I could try this. And then honestly, the super stock or yeah, the super stock thousand races are fairly short. So I have this plan in my mind that I'm kind of formulating, and then I see the white flag, and I'm like, okay, I'm out of time. So kind of had to go for a little bit of a late lunch, but didn't work out. So shit happens.
yeah. I mean, it is what it is, dude. Right? I mean, it's racing. You're on the box,
Yeah,
right?
I was thankful.
So
It was fun.
yeah, and then obviously you did what you did on Sunday.
Yeah, that was a good day.
Was that your
Yeah, we
first
all.
national win?
That's my first win here in America. Yeah,
No shit. Okay.
yeah, I know it's crazy, but yeah, that was an awesome feeling, man. After doing the cool down lap and coming into the podium area and just having everybody there, it was awesome. I definitely like to try and make that happen
You're gonna try to make that happen again. You guys, you're in Washington this weekend, this coming
Yep,
weekend, or no? Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
So you're
At the
looking to make it
Ridge.
happen soon, then,
Oh yeah,
like
that's the
in a
plan.
few days,
Hmm.
right? That's rad, dude.
Oh yeah.
Just a heads up, like I got some comments coming in. I gotta hit them real quick because they're talking about you. So, first of all, John Ridey says hi, basically. Chris from Pin the Gas, he's calling you Mega like he does, and he's saying congrats on the win, and then as well as that weird Honda guy Trevor saying that commenting about the proper banner behind my dude. He says,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
dude.
yeah." See, you got all these Honda banners, and I just have this like awesome bicycle right there.
That thing's
Yeah,
sick, dude.
yeah, dude. Team Trek.
Hell yeah.
Woo. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty sweet. But yeah. So that's kind of how it goes. And you know, there's some shit talking that I told you prior, and we'll leave that at that. But yeah, just had to hit the comments. Thank you guys for coming. I see Chunky Buns is in here as well. You know, she's the one that bets against whoever she bets against Marquez every GP weekend and wins
Nice.
money. And wins money. Like legit wins money. It's
Oh,
hilarious. All right, so let's start off on how you got started in this motorbike thing, dude. You're Napa area, like where is that where you're
yeah,
from?
yeah. So I was actually born in Seattle, more or less, and then kind of migrated down to California when I was pretty young with my family, and started off in motocross. Started riding moto when I was 4 years old, and did motocross until I was about 12-ish. I started getting hurt. I started having friends that were getting hurt. Uh, Little known fact, yeah, BSB exactly. Little known fact, I actually had a pro circuit contract sitting on my table to
What?
ride with them for my amateur career, and I actually said no, which is a decision I look back on. I'm like, man, that could have been a different career path, but here we are. Yeah, I was tired of getting hurt. Basically, I was 12 years old and I was just
Yeah.
tired of being in hospitals. So decided to take up road racing and kind of started with the RS 125 and like USGPRU, the WIRA days, AFM days, all that stuff.
USGPRU.
Yeah, you
Man.
remember?
Yeah,
Oh
dude.
yeah. Uh-huh. And then so yeah, I just kind of started that. Did the Red Bull Rookies Cup tryouts twice. Didn't make it in either time. But just going over to Europe and having that experience
What
really,
year was that?
it was 2013 and 2012 and 2013, I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
And no reason, you just went over there, tried out, and didn't, and they just tell you, sorry, you didn't make it.
yeah, I was too tall. Honestly, I mean, that's the second year they told me that straight up. The first year they were just like, "You're not old enough," and then the second year they're like, "Yeah, you're way too tall." Which it happens. It is what it
Yeah.
is. But that introduced me to European riding, and then started off my BSB career, and then French Superbikes, Spanish Championship, World Superbike, all that stuff, and here we are.
Way to gloss over some like epic shit.
Oh yeah, man,
I mean,
it's hard.
how old were you at this point when you went over there?
So when I first went to BSB, I was 13, and we went over with a team called Cresswell Racing, which the owner of Cresswell Racing, John Cresswell, just passed away. So RIP the homie.
Wow.
But that's kind of how I got introduced over there on the 125s again. We disassembled my 125, the RS 125, put it in a suitcase, flew it over to the UK, reassembled it in a barn, and then went racing.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, dude. I look back
That
on
sounds
those
like
days.
how it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, I don't know how we made it happen, but man, it was so cool. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so did that 2013. I think I got like eighth place or something like that. I mean, that was. I remember going over there and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm winning some like club races here. Like we'll be competitive. And nah, dude, I was like bottom, 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 bottom.
You said you
So
were
that was
finishing eighth. Like,
yeah,
eighth
yeah.
is the
Like
bottom for you? Like,
well, I ended eighth. Like I
oh.
began like 30th, and then
Oh.
throughout the year, just kind of slowly worked my way up, and did that. Next year, went back to BSB. This time on a Moto 3, and I think I finished second, I believe, that year in the MotoStar class in the Moto 3, and then
Moto
kind
3
of
bike,
kept.
was that Milwaukee or what?
It was a Honda. It was NSF 250. Yeah,
NSF 250. Okay, wow,
yeah.
dude.
Yeah, it was a fun bike.
Yeah.
That was a good year. A lot of good opportunities came from that year. Between the CEV Moto 2 stuff, I did some private tests with Mahindra when they still had their Moto 3 program, and it
Wow.
was it was cool. That was a good year for
So
sure.
you like were on a path because CEV Moto 2, that's like, isn't that the path to
Yeah,
actual Moto2?
basically, yeah, I had that. I had that path exactly like you were saying. I decided to give it a year before I jumped into CEV Moto 2. I wanted to get some 600 experience. So we
Yeah.
went over to France and did some super stock 600 stuff in France. And that was my first real like international win was that year in France on the Honda 600. And that was a bunch of fun. And then kind
Wow.
of made that work. I won't lie, that was one of the hardest years I've ever had in racing, was living in
Really?
France in 2015. Yeah, I just because where we were, like in the middle of nowhere, we had a wood stove, which was our heating, and that was awesome. Like I love the wood stove, but man, when it was hot and you were in this like solid rock building, it was like an oven in there. It was gnarly. And
So
then at
no
this time, I
AC
was
there.
no, nope, nope. At this time, I was still in my homeschooling program, and so the house I had didn't have Wi-Fi, didn't have internet. So we would drive down to the local supermarket, and I'd sit in their parking lot and take all of my exams, and then I'd download all of my courses, and then go back home and do all the other stuff. So that was a tough year.
So like you were
Uh,
legit living on like Little House on the Prairie?
yeah, yeah, dude, 100%.
Wow, dude.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
hilarious.
It was crazy. My landlord there, he had a dog. The dog's name was Gaia, and it was this little, like, not Chihuahua, but it kind of looked similar. It was a very small dog, and he would rip the heads off of toys and leave them at your door. And it was so creepy, dude. Like you'd
He's
wake
just
up
giving
at
you gifts.
yeah, yeah, I guess. But dude, it'd be late at night, and you'd walk outside, and there's just this head of a doll. Like, wow, nice.
Sounds
Uh,
legit.
yeah. So that was 2015. That was racing in France. 2016, 2017 was when I went to the Spanish Championship of Moto 2. And those 2 years, man, the first year was an eye opener. Again, I was thinking, like, man, I was winning in France. We were competitive the whole year. We'll be good. And I hopped in the Moto 2 and I was right back at the bottom. So yeah, again, work my way back up. And then the second year going back with the same team, AGR on the Moto 2, uh, that was when I was really realizing how competitive I would have to be for the world championship stuff. Like the speed I really needed, the skill I really needed. And it got to a point where again it was kind of going full circle with me going back to motocross where I was constantly getting hurt. I was kind of at that threshold of making that next step where I was making a lot of mistakes and I was crashing a lot, and I got to the end of the year and I was like, man, I need to let my body recover. So kind of took a year off of racing to focus not only on my recovery. That's also when I really got into the fire department. So did
Okay.
my academy, everything that year, and then ever since then I've kind of been on the comeback with the racing stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that AGR team, if I'm not mistaken, that's the team that the Americans kids are riding for now, right?
Yeah, Team AGR. It's
Yeah, it's
funny
like
actually. I look
isn't it like Max
back.
Toth and you know
Yep.
Christian Daniels doing the junior moto or ETC, Moto
Yep.
3, whatever, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
It's
same team,
when I
right?
look back. Yeah, it's so between Cresswell, Fireplace Warehouse, and Team AGR, almost every American that's gone to Europe after me, so to say, have gone to the same teams and they've worked with the same people. So every
That's
once in a while,
hilarious.
yeah, I'll get a phone call from like Adrian Mason from Fireplace Warehouse, and he's like, "Hey, we got another American coming over. Do you know this guy?" So it's
Wow.
actually pretty cool.
I'm seeing a couple comments coming in. Chunky Buns says, this kid makes other kids who've gone overseas look a tad anticlimactic, respectfully or not, because he's now kicking ass. I don't know if that's like a backhanded compliment or yeah.
uh,
So, but yeah, Christian Daniels, I think Benny Solis was on that team as well.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Wait, 2018, 20 right? 2017, 18, something like that.
Yeah, we did a private test with him and I on the Moto2s at Valencia, and it was basically the whole day of just both of us chasing each other around the track. And I won't lie, dude, that night we got hammered at the track. And we were just trying to figure out how we could possibly go faster. It was a lot of fun. That was a good
That's hilarious, dude. Like I
time.
really miss Benny. I know people. Somebody mentioned him. I think Righty mentioned him over the weekend, but the guy, I guess he got hurt and stuff and punched out and has basically disappeared.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him in quite a while.
Yeah, last I heard, he was like in the weed business. Like he's like, I don't know if he's got a dispensary or what, but like I heard he's like heavy into the weed business.
Right, fair enough. It's good
It's a
money.
good business to be in California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish him the best of luck, man. I invited him out to the track about a year ago, and he's like, "Nah, I'm not ready for that yet."
Fair enough.
Like
Fair enough.
yeah, he kind of got chewed up and spat out by the sport,
Yeah, he was definitely the fast guy. I did a wild card in MotoAmerica on a super sport bike in like 2016, 2015, a while ago. And
Right.
my main competition was Benny, and that's kind of where I got to know him, was between us bumping each other on track and then talking about it afterwards. That's kind of how I got to know Benny. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've done all of that, and then like, how did you come back? Like, I remember you. You were before Trevor. You were the weird Honda guy. And I,
Yeah.
I remember you had that epic season with AFM, right? Like, was that part of your comeback tour, like getting your feet wet again, or how did that go? Because I know you won the AFM one plate, right? So,
Yeah, I think that was I have had this relationship with Honda since about 2015 when I went over to France. That's a little tidbit I did forget to mention. Thank you. In France, when in 2015, when I was riding that Honda 600, it was for the Honda official team.
oh
So I
wow,
got to know all of the bigwigs at Honda France, and they kind of pushed me towards the Honda USA people. And that's kind of what started that whole relationship. So we got the bike from our local dealership, and I bought it more as just like it'll be fun to start riding again. And
yeah,
then that turned into, oh, what if we weren't racing? And then, oh, what if we got Honda involved? And what if we did this seriously? And you kind of just kept like every day was that next, like, what if we did this? What if we did that? And it was a really cool experience. It was a lot of fun. We built the bike from the ground up. I ended up, yeah, dude. So we had this thing pristine, like brand new bodywork. I think is probably the best the bike had ever looked. I do some testing at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and I absolutely destroy the bike.
oh
Absolutely
man,
put the thing in a garbage can, dude. Right in front of Aussie Dave, right in front of him. We were
like
both
wrote it
racing against each
off.
other. Yeah, just tumbled into the desert. So that was kind of where I started leaning on Honda USA, and I was like, now I need some help because I have to rebuild a whole new motorcycle. And so that's where, uh, because of the classes I was riding in AFM, they're basically like unlimited, so to say. There are
Right.
some rules, but they're pretty loose. So that's where I was getting like the Novin chassis, the Novin engine cases, the special Japanese HRC parts, like just random everything that we could possibly do to try and get this Honda to be the best that it could be to go win these races is what we did, and it worked out. It was fun.
That's I just remember the 600 and your the 1000, and the 1000 was it looked a bit secondhand the last time I saw it.
Yeah, yeah,
And you're like, yeah, I brought like you probably still have it, huh?
yep.
You
Still
still
sitting in the garage.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, like I think you said something to the effect last time I saw you with it. You were like, "Oh yeah, I busted out old Bessie," like
Yeah,
old
yeah,
reliable,
yeah,
right?
dude. That thing is a handful and a half to ride, but it is still pretty fast.
No electronics on that, right? That's
It
pre-electronics.
it has
I
TC.
mean,
It says it on the dash that it has
yeah,
TC.
dude, exactly. It has it on the yeah, so did the 2012 R1. Like, calm down,
Yeah.
okay? Yeah, dude. Like, you know
Uh,
exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. That
yes.
that bike, did it come with a quick shifter at least, or no? No quick shifter. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
We put one
No
on,
auto
but yeah.
blipper. No auto
No.
blipper either. Yeah, that's wow. So going that fast on that bike with no nanny shit, that's all right. That's pretty healthy.
Yeah,
Are
it
you
was
looking at
fun,
the
dude.
comments? You're looking at the
I
comments,
am.
aren't you? I see some
I
people writing novellas.
uh,
Dude, I shouldn't have told you to look at them, man. They'll suck you
uh,
in. The comments will
yeah,
suck you in for sure.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's you know, it's pretty impressive what you've been able to do. I mean, I know that it wasn't all that long ago where you were riding for another team, and I think you were doing Superbike stuff, right?
yep,
You were riding with Aussie Dave's team, right?
yep. Good old Aussie Dave. He's a super nice guy. He's super funny. But yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to admit that it wasn't my best year. Definitely struggled with getting up to speed on the Suzuki. I don't know, I don't know what it was, but it seemed like every time I would get some confidence going, I'd be like, "Man, we're doing good. We're starting to go fast." I would have a huge crash, and I would
I
just
was gonna
go
say, like
all the
every
way
time
back
you started
down,
to get
dude.
some confidence, you ended up on your face.
Yes, yeah, and I think I look back and like I only ever had one or two crashes where I was just like and just lost the front and slid like 20 feet. There are always these massive high sides, like big, huge crashes, and it always sucked.
What was
And
it?
I
Was it an electronics thing? Like what? Do you know what? Can you talk a little bit about the causes of these massive high sides?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that it was somewhat electronics. I think a lot of it was me getting used to different types of lean angle. For example, a lot of my high sides were off throttle. They were coming into the corner just as I kind of got my knee on the ground between engine braking and uh, whatever unnatural forces there might have been, just having the rear rotate and shoot me off the bike. Um, we always tried playing with engine braking and different traction control levels, but traction control really only works when you're on the throttle. So there's some of that was just I had to figure out how to ride the bike differently, and it just took me so long to actually get that into my head. But yeah, it was a bit of a rough year, but overall, I love Aussie Dave. Super nice guy, super funny guy,
Dude,
and I'm glad to see him doing well now.
I mean, he's kind of the elder statesman in the paddock, kind of, right?
Yeah,
Since the other old guy's not racing this year,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yep.
So, he's kind of like the old dude, but he looks still competitive in that super sport class, right?
Yeah, he's still fast. Every once in a while, like at Brainerd, he put the thing on P3, I think, in like practice one or qualifying one. I was like, damn, dude, he's moving.
Um, I'm I gotta stop reading comments and shit. Like Gus Rodeo's dad's like jamming me up about something, and I'm just like, bro, stop.
uh,
Yeah. So so Aussie Dave's doing that, and then obviously Bobby Fong is leading the championship in Superbike on that thing, right? Like,
mhm.
it's amazing watching a team get their shit together,
Yeah, for sure.
It's
No, they've come a long way.
yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, weren't you am I crazy to think that you were supposed to ride a Honda this year in Stock Thousand?
I was. I actually have a 23 Honda sitting in our garage as well. That was supposed to be the bike that I was going to ride between doing some superbike stuff on a Yamaha and using that in super stock. That kind of was our loose plan, and everything kind of changed. I remember I was actually on a fire, and I got a phone call from my current crew chief and super good friend Kurt Karenko, and he's like, "Hey, do you have any concrete plans? Like, have you signed any contracts for this year?" And I said, "No." And he told me, "Okay, I'll send you an email in like an hour. Read it and get back to me as soon as you can." And so
Okay.
sent me an email with a full contract. And he's like, "Don't tell anybody I sent you this, but here it is." So read the full contract. I was like, "Oh, this looks like a good deal." There was no name. There was no affiliation. Like there was nothing outside of like, this is your responsibility as a rider and this is what we can provide you.
Right.
Yes or no. So I looked it over and I was like, yeah, it looks good. And then I got a phone call from the owner of the Orange Cat racing team, Andrew.
Yeah.
And it was probably the most formal job interview I've ever had. Where like
That dude
You
doesn't
could
come from
tell.
our world, bro.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you could tell that I was on speakerphone in a room full of people. Like you could hear other
Like,
voices and everything, and they would ask me like that typical like, "What's your biggest weakness?" And you're sitting there and you're like, "Man, what do I say in a racing environment? Like, do I just say that I get stressed on airports? Like, where do I go with this?" Uh, uh, it was really interesting. And then like 3 days go by and he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, you're riding a BMW this year in stock thousand." So yeah, it was awesome.
that's crazy. So it was like a team of individuals interviewed you
It was only
on
Andrew
speakerphone?
talking.
Okay.
Yeah, but like Andrew would say the question, and then I would try my best to answer in a formal manner, and then you'd hear like, "Oh yeah, okay, oh no, okay, oh yeah,"
What?
and then Andrew would start saying something again.
That's amazing, dude. Yeah, I
It
met
was
that
interesting.
guy. I met that guy last year at the beginning of the year when I'm the timing guy for the Attack Yamaha
Yep.
team, and the Orange Cat guys came out to test, and I think the Titler's guys were there, and the Westby, they were all there testing at Buttonwillow, and I got to hang out with the owner of Orange Cat a little bit in timing and scoring, and he kind of told me a little about what he was about, and
Mhm.
it's pretty cool to have a guy like that in the paddock, honestly, because he
Yeah.
comes from a different perspective.
Yep.
He probably asks different questions than anybody else. But shit, man, like you want to race on the thing, so it must be a pretty good program, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Andrew is a super nice guy. He like you were saying, he does come from a different world. He comes from the tech industry, and seeing his process of elimination, so to say, like for example, we get off of the bike after every single session. I bring my computer to the canopy, and we have a full debrief where I get a track map and I write everything out on the computer, type everything out as neat as I can, as professionally as I can. Then we have a full like crew chief, Andrew, everybody that's important in regards to the motorcycle. We all come together in this little like dark room, and we all have our
Yeah.
little like deliberations. And
The
then
dark
we
room meetings.
yeah, yeah, and everything gets typed out, everything gets recorded, whether it's voice recording or just kind of like taking notes of the conversation, and then we'll all come into a conclusion of this is what we're going to do, and then we go out and that's what we do. So he runs a really tight ship. He runs a good program, and just again, like you said, it's interesting having that outsider perspective on what, at least to people like you and I, seems to be the norm, and kind of throwing something else into that is hard at first, but it's actually been really cool.
So how long are your typical like post-session writer debriefs?
Uh, I would say so. For example, the session ends. I get off the bike. I go back to the truck. I yank my gear off as quickly as I can. And I probably have about 20 minutes from the time the session ends to the time that we start our little meeting. And in that 20 minutes, I have to type everything out, like all the notes of everything that happened on the session, changes I want to do, things
Oh
that
my
I
god.
think would help. And then that's where we'll come together. We'll have this big meeting, and then
Well, are you like
sometimes
well, let me stop you for a second. Are you like word vomiting? Like, okay, this happened, the front end's doing that. Like give me like the one sentence. Give me one sentence of one of your writer debrief sessions. It'd be neat.
uh,
I don't know. Like,
so uh, Brainerd, just like we were talking about, going into turn one, where I'd type on the computer, I'd be like, entry oversteer as I decel into max lean angle into one. Not sure how to fix. Maybe something I'll talk to Julian about, and that'll
wow.
be like one line. And then we'll go into that
Oh
meeting,
my
and
god.
I'll tell Julian like, why am I so scared here? And he's like, either you're just being a bitch, or this is actually something that we can work on, and then try and go from
Okay.
there. Yeah.
So is it like when you type out all the stuff that happened in your session and you guys have your big meeting, like, are you guys attacking all the shit that you talked about, or are you guys trying to pick like the big most important things, or like I'm just curious how that shit works in pro team stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah, yeah. So overall, even when I'm typing things out, like I have all these thoughts in my mind about what just happened on the bike, what just happened in the session, and I'll type it out. And then usually when I'm done typing, I'll kind of sit there for a second and just look over everything. And you kind of start to find patterns, whether it's I had a little bit of front chatter here, or like, man, I'm really struggling. Like on brake release, as I tip the bike into the corner, man, I can't get this thing to turn. And that's, you start to see that pattern happening over and over and over again. So I'll kind of know going into a meeting, this is probably what we're going to talk about. We get into the meeting, sure enough, we either do talk about it or we don't. Maybe in my mind, I have a fix where I'm like, I just need to turn more preloaded on the front. And then we'll get 20 minutes in the meeting, and my idea of a fix was absolutely wrong, and we're going to go the absolute opposite direction. And it just comes down to everybody has certain experiences with different motorcycles, different pieces of the bike, and some people know this better, and so we all kind of focus on what's the best package we can get, and then we try and make it happen.
You know, I've heard some stuff about the BMW, and I've heard some opinions on the BMW as well. You know, obviously the opinions are like the thing is a goddamn missile down the straightaway. Holy shit, it wants to rip my arms off. Like I've
Yeah.
heard all those kind of things. But then I've also heard like the setup window of the BMW is a lot more narrow than some of the other bikes. Is that the case?
I would agree. Yes, it is fast as shit in a straight line, 100%. The biggest thing that I struggle with right now, especially that I could see compared to other riders, is that edge grip. It's like the initial 10% of the throttle as you pick the bike up off the fat off of the edge onto the fat part of the tire, it just spins. And I think it's a swing arm thing. I think the stock swing arm on the BMW just doesn't allow enough flex to actually let the tire grab, so to say.
Mm.
It's a very, very stiff, rigid chassis, which is really good in the high speed corners. The bike loves super fast corners. It doesn't really like slow speed corners. So that's, like you were saying, it is a pretty narrow window. And it's always, at least from what we found so far, it's not if you're going to get great grip, it's can we get enough grip to actually get moving and then start to focus on like straightaway speed.
So when when you said that first part of the throttle opening when you're starting to pick the thing up, are you suggesting that that there's a possibility to correct some of that with electronics, or is the stock or whatever you're limited to with stock 1000, is that the restrictive barrier there? Because it seems like the Superbike guy kind of figured it out, right? Or at least
Yeah,
two riders in the world did, right? Cameron
yeah,
Bobia in
yeah,
the United States and Top Rack in Europe, right? Like
yeah.
two guys have figured out how to
Exactly.
ride the Superbike BMW, like, on the limit,
Yeah,
right?
I think a swing arm would transform that motorcycle. Being able to get the rear tire a little bit further away, get it just a longer motorcycle, get some better grip. And I think, like you were saying, in the stock 1000 trim, there are adjustments that we can make. And luckily, the BMW has pretty good software, so to say, from the get go, especially the
Yeah.
M1000 is a pretty aggressive race bike, so to say.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, for us, for what we can do, I basically immediately get the thing spinning. And then that's where we kind of play with, do I initiate TC? Do I give it TC to try and bring the bike back in line? Or do I just let the thing ride sideways and not slow the bike down with any electronic aids until I get it up on the fat part of the tire? And then it'll hook and go. So it's kind of this, what can we do, especially at Brainerd? Dude, that last corner going onto the
Yeah.
straightaway at Brainerd, it was constantly just 23 degree or 23% wheel slip up until the fat part of the tire. Then it would hook and then
Oh,
go. So it's just seeing what we can make work.
that sounds super confidence inspiring.
It's a big flat track bike. That's basically
Yeah.
what I've found out, what I've been told, especially from other riders that have the BMW and the stock trim. It's a flat track bike. It's a dirt bike. You have to ride it like one, and it's fast.
Oh.
You just have to know that that's how it is.
So is it, I guess it has like kit electronics, right? Like, is that how it works in
Yeah,
stock 1000? You get like the whatever kit from the
yeah,
manufacturer.
yeah. Because BMW partners with Alpha,
Okay.
or maybe the other way around. Either one. And
Yeah.
Alpha has a stock 1000 kit so to say.
Okay.
So they basically get the bike from Alpha in Germany and they give it to you and they say, this is sealed. So you can't, like, you can adjust it to your preference, but this is the bike. You know what I mean? Like, you can't
Okay.
really alter it from that. And then you
Like,
go
here
from
you
there.
go. Good luck.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I hear a lot of guys are using that or working with that Steve Weir guy. It seems like damn near everybody on a BMW works with Weir balls. So um, how much are you working with, or your team? How much is your team working with Steve?
Initially, when we first went testing, we were on the phone with Steve like every session. We were working with Steve
Okay.
a whole lot. Steve works with Rahal Decog now, so
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of access to him, so to say. But
Okay.
if we're ever in a pinch, we're ever in a pickle, and there's something that like we just can't figure this out, we'll give him a phone call, and he usually helps us out.
Yeah. So I'm seeing some chatter about it in the comments, and you know what? I'm gonna kind of get to some of that stuff in a little bit, but yeah, like so the stock 1,000 thing. So you got what? How many rounds do you have left for the year?
We
3.
have 3. Yep.
So this weekend at the Ridge, and then Laguna in a couple weeks, and then Jersey. Is that right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So I'm not even looking at the championship points right now, but where are you at in the overall there? You're second right now.
Yep.
Okay. So what's your overall goal here for the season in stock 1,000?
Man, I I want to win. That's my end
Okay.
goal. Is I'm there to win. My contract said if I don't win, I'm fired. So
What?
I I'm really there to win, and I know Hayden's on a bit of a different level right now, but I'm trying my best to close that gap. And I think coming to racetracks that I actually know, I'm excited to really get to push the bike, and instead of kind of starting from zero and having to figure out what to do, like already knowing this is where we can start and continuing that process is going to help a lot.
That's awesome, man. Well, you know what? I wish you the best of luck for this weekend, man. But let's talk about the other stuff, like in club racing, you run Pirelli tires, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah? Okay.
Oh yeah, big
So
Pirelli guy.
you're a big Pirelli guy. Okay. So tell me, you're one of the few riders that can actually honestly tell the difference. Like tell us the characteristic differences between the two.
So this might get me in some hot water later, but so I think
This fucking show,
Dunlops,
bro.
Dunlops, at least from what I found with the MotoAmerica Dunlops that we use on the thousands, I think the physical traction is better from both front rear. However, I prefer the feeling of a Pirelli, whether it's with edge grip and feeling like I can drive the bike off the corner. I think Pirellis last longer than Dunlops, like an SC1 Pirelli rear tire. I can still get 25, 30 laps out of easy. And then I go to one of the hardest compounds, an R7 rear Dunlop, and I'm like lap 20, I'm just trying to stay on the motorcycle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they both have pros and cons. Definitely, I mean, Dunlops a few years back were super famous for chattering on the front. Like it was just every time you're on a Dunlop, you're just waiting for the thing to chatter. Pirellis, I never ever had that issue. They're
Huh.
better now. The newer Dunlops are much better with that chatter, but it's still there. Like you still get just that. So it's hard for me to say if there's one that's faster. Personally, my fastest laps at most of the racetracks have always been on Pirellis, but
Shocker.
yeah,
This is this fucking
it's
show, right?
yeah,
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 dude.
it just comes down to personal preference, I think.
Yeah, that there could be some of that. It's I I noticed the latest Dunlops are starting to look more and more like Pirellis. Like the
Yeah,
125/70
yep,
Pirelli front looks a lot like the new Dunlop front, right?
yeah. That
So
was a game changer. When that front tire came out from Pirelli, it literally transformed how my bike turned.
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah. That needs to be a shirt. This fucking slow. This fucking show. Apparently, I need to make a this fucking show T-shirt. Yeah, I don't know. Like the Pirelli, the Dunlop thing. I mean, it's I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the spec tire thing, other than the fact that everybody's on the same shit, so that's one less thing to kind of like blame for losing, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
one less excuse out the window when you make everybody run the same shit. But on from the racing perspective, a lot of the racers, privateer guys and stuff, they need that money. I mean, if there was open tire rule or whatever, there's a way to have a spec tire and each manufacturer comes with one or whatever, then all the teams could have, this team and this team could be on Dunnies and, Joe Schmo could be on, Bridgestones or whatever. And then obviously Pirelli's, it just opens up a sponsorship door, don't you think? Or am I
yeah.
crazy?
No, 100%. I'm also on your train of thought. I think it'd be awesome to have a bunch of different manufacturers pitching in, not only to see who has the best tire, but to continue development for everything, not only racing tires, but for road tires as well.
Right.
Uh, I I haven't. I don't know the actual number that Dunlop pays MotoAmerica to be their spec tire, but after
Right.
having a lot of talks with Pirelli, I know it's big. And at
Yeah,
least
me
from what
too.
I've been told from Pirelli, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a number that they're willing to fork out, and that's okay. It's just it's business,
Right.
and it is what it is.
I mean, I suspect the from what I hear anyway, like I don't know how factual this is. So, like whoever the fact checking police are, whoever that could be, like whatever, it's just some dummy in SoCal talking shit, okay? But it's I hear that most of the money that they pay out comes from the Dunlop money that they take in, you know.
Yeah, I
So,
wouldn't be surprised.
right. Wow, that's interesting that you say that,
Yeah.
dude. And I'm glad to hear that you're on team at get rid of the spec tire thing, kind of.
Oh
No?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just
All
freaking
right.
get everybody involved because I want to have a Rosso 5 that I can put on my street bike. And right now we're on the Rosso 4, which is still awesome, but I want to get that thing going.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, a couple of things, I mean, you're a pretty fit dude, so like I've seen you run in the mornings
Yeah.
at the track, right? Are you a runner? Is that what your deal is, or what's your fitness deal?
Yeah, so mostly for me, it's anybody that's racing, whether it's with cars, carts, especially go karting, especially dirt bikes, and whatever. The struggle is always weight. So you want to be as strong as you can while being as light as you can. So for me, it's just kind of finding that perfect balance. And through the years of racing and just experience, I've learned for me that's around 170. Like if I can stick to around 170 pounds, that's where I feel like I have the strength that I need to do my job, but I'm also not slowing myself down, so to say. When I was on the Moto 3s, all that stuff, I mean, you're bone skinny because you have to be, but definitely getting on the
Right.
600s, especially the BMW. My fiance and I, we call the BMW Helga because
Helga.
it's an aggressive German machine. Like
I was
that
gonna say
thing
bitch,
is,
but
yeah, yeah, that thing is out to kick your butt. So you have
okay.
to be, you got to be on it. You got to be strong, and that's what I've been trying to do. I've actually gained a little bit of weight since the start of the season, so trying to get a little bit stronger to be able to tame it. But that's uh, that's that's how it is with everybody. Everybody's always in the same boat. But as far as the running stuff, yeah. When I was in Europe, they always told me I had to get my heart rate up. I had to get my blood pressure up just to not only ease the nerves, but just to kind of warm up my mind and get everything ready to go ride. So that's something I've brought with me back to the States. And
Hmm.
I never do anything too hardcore. Like my runs are less than a mile. It usually only takes me like 4 to 5 minutes to actually do my run. And then just push ups, stretches, sit ups, stuff like that, just to kind of get the body
Hmm.
loose and just get my mind in the zone, so to say, and then get going.
Yeah, I do see a comment from your buddy Sean Summers saying that your workout program is dragging hoses during fire season.
Oh, yeah. Been doing a lot of that.
Oh, is it fire season up there right now?
Oh, yeah. It's fire season right now. I
He
mean, we've
said,
had,
"Oh yeah."
yeah, in the last 2 weeks, we've burned more than the last 3 years combined as far as acreage.
That's
Yeah. So California's
that's
popping off.
something. California's always popping off. There's always some activist lighting fire somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Joe Blow dipshit flicking a cigarette out the window, and next thing you know,
Uh,
right?
yeah, honestly, dude, it's mostly between car crashes and people just like pulling off on the side of the road with a hot car and grass, and then it just lights the whole hill on fire.
Wow. So you're NorCal fired? Like, what's your deal? That's your day job, right? You're a firefighter guy by day, or just seasonal?
Yeah. I would say it's more seasonal. So when it comes to fire season, like right now, I'm definitely much, much more active in the fire department. Obviously, with the racing stuff, it's somewhat of a struggle. So I'm always kind of juggling that. And then when it comes to the off season, as far as racing off season, I take a step back from the fire department stuff and focus more on some of more personal matters and things like that. Um, but yeah, definitely being in the fire department. I work with Napa County Fire, and I work at Station 21, Deer Park, and my rank is an engineer, engineer driver operator. So I get to drive the fire trucks, I get to provide water to everybody, and I'm
Okay.
working on getting my captain's license. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm trying.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was telling you offline, right? I gotta talk shit, but like, my buddy Brandon Murphy, Brandon's firefighter guy, like day job in the city, like in the Bay Area, and he's talking about like rolling through town in his multi-million-dollar truck, and he's just like,
Yeah.
get out of the way. you know and so, like, you're an engineer, is that you're driving the rig like that, but
Yeah,
you're in the
yeah,
country.
exactly. Yeah,
Like,
dude,
you
I
might hit
won't
a
lie.
deer.
Yeah, dude, seriously, that happens all the time. Yeah, driving the fire trucks code 3 with the lights and sirens and everything, it's cool, and you get that rush of adrenaline. It's
Yeah.
so much responsibility though. Like, not
Oh,
only
yeah.
am I responsible for my crew, but if I hit somebody while I have lights and sirens on, it's guaranteed my fault, no matter what. No
Really?
matter what. Yep.
Wow.
So, it's a lot of responsibility. Uh,
That is that, like, does the job get pretty intense for you? Like, during fire season specifically?
Yes, yeah, the last few weeks I've been on and off a few fires, and it's good for training. Like somebody in the comments earlier said something about firefighting and training, which is it's awesome for training. It definitely keeps me fit, keeps me sane. I love what I do. Uh, but definitely, especially once I got to my engineer position and I started leading crews, not only being the firefighter and going into a fire, but now I'm responsible for other people that are going into a fire. That was a
Yeah.
huge like mental shift, and it definitely took time. It took practice to be able to understand and actually be able to execute an order or execute a mission without losing my crewmate.
Oh,
And
wow.
it might sound kind of stupid, but the first fire that I was on where I led a crew into the fire, it was all good on the fire ground. And then we started driving back to our station afterwards, and I actually threw up. Like, I had to pull over and get out of the truck
What?
and throw up. Dude, I just had
That's
so much
crazy.
like stress, adrenaline, everything, and I just couldn't. Yeah, it was rough.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
Um, were you involved in fighting those huge fires a couple years ago that basically, like, burned Middletown up over the hill from you guys?
Oh yeah, both the
Like
Lightning
Clear
Complex.
Lake and all that?
Yeah, Lightning Complex and the Glass Fire were like 3 months apart roughly, and I was
Yeah.
on both of those. I actually went from the Lightning Complex as soon as I got released from the fire, hopped on a plane and went to the Ridge and did the MotoAmerica round at the Ridge.
Oh
And
my god.
then yeah, I came back, and then it was like 2 months and we had another big fire.
That's crazy. I mean, I don't know if you know this about me. You probably do, but, like, I went to high school up until 10th grade in Calistoga,
Oh, I
and,
did not know that. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Nice.
I'm NorCal. I'm hella NorCal, right? Yeah. So,
Uh,
I went to my buddy's wedding, a few years ago. Danger is his nickname or whatever. So Danger and his wife, Chris, they got married in like like hella far north from there, like almost to Oregon, in
oh, wow, okay.
McLeod. So on the way to
Got it.
McLeod, I was like, oh yeah, so I take Lily, my wife through all the areas, and we drove through Middletown, and it was like there was nothing. There was like
Yeah.
fuck all. I was like, no
Yeah.
way, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. You were involved in fighting that.
Oh yeah, my crew on both the lightning and the glass fire, we got put in some pretty rough scenarios by no one's fault. It's just kind of the way the conditions changed, put us in a bit of a tight bind. And at that time, I was just meeting my fiance now, Amber, and that was actually the first time I'd ever told her that I loved her was when I was shitting myself on the fire line.
Oh my god.
Uh, and that definitely stands out. That's like a burned in memory of not how we met, but like that's when things started to happen. And here we are.
Well, you're welcome or sorry. I don't know.
Yeah. Uh, it was interesting. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Wow, man. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right. So let's get to some of the comments. Yeah. Like, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
apparently Sean Summers is a big fan of yours.
I love Sean. He's a
Because
good guy.
because he's talking about how you're the king of NorCal fires, and at least you get to drive you do drive a red vehicle. Um, you're a racer, firefighter, electrician, son, brother, boyfriend. What can't he do? Like, Jesus, Sean, get your tongue out of the dude's asshole already. Jesus. Okay,
Oh,
Brian Green asks, did your work with CW Moto help you transition into your Red Cat team you're on now, or Orange Cat? It's an Orange Cat,
yes.
dude, right?
Yeah,
Orange Cat?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Chris and Sarah, both from CW Moto, they were huge when I was in 2023. I did some club racing stuff with them, and then late 2023 into early 2024, I did a bunch of CVMA stuff with them. They're both super nice people. I talk to Chris not on a daily basis, but weekly for sure, just about random bike stuff and trying to get everything ready.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely did help me transition. They were the people before the Orange Cat deal happened. I was gonna ride their R1 in some Superbike stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, and then all the Orange Cat stuff happened, and here we are.
Yeah, I think I saw pictures of you or something at last season at Chuckwalla, right? In the wintertime,
Yep,
racing
yep,
racing that R1. I was like, "Oh shit. The Honda guys racing an R1?
yeah.
Right on." Right? Then you went
That
to
bike was a lot of
BMW.
fun.
Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah, I'm sure. There's a few people that have been riding that thing, right? Or am I crazy? Like, I
yeah.
didn't Easy ride that?
Yes, he did. I think that was in like 22 ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, there've been a few big names that I've ridden on his team on that bike, and it's a good guy, good crew, good program. He's based out of Seattle, or more or less Seattle, so it's a pretty good location as far as the ridge, obviously, and just all the West Coast stuff. But yeah,
So, Abraham 4131 says that he thinks that you won a Super Pole at one of Mark DeGross's track days, champagne and all.
yep, yeah, I think I've done that twice. Once was on the Honda, and once was on the Yamaha, I believe. But yeah, yep, we did that.
Okay. My wife's telling me to tag Metalachi later. Thanks, honey. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna have Mark on the show tomorrow. So I don't know. Maybe I'll text you later and be like, "Hey, dude, spill the
Yeah.
tea.
Oh
Give me a
yeah,
little
for
something,
sure.
something for this dude." All right. So let's see. Are you? Yeah. Chunky Bun says, "MotoAmerica 25. You don't have any freedom of speech when talking to me." Wow. And
Uh,
apparently Matt Mladen's going to be at Jersey. So you're
we'll do it.
welcome for the PSA there. That should be cool.
I'm ready.
Um, apparently your team owner is a huge E-Balls fan.
He is. I have heard that. I haven't personally asked him, but I have heard from a
Okay.
few people he was definitely a Bostrom guy.
Well, you know what? I will say this, and you every now and then you'll see him walking around the paddock,
Yeah,
usually hanging out with JD Beach. But this guy, Joey Lombardo, do you know who that is?
I've definitely heard the name.
Yeah, Joey Lombardo was Tommy Hayden's crew chief back in the day when he won the 600 championship or whatever.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine, I know he works for Tommy now on the Estenson thing,
Yeah.
driving the semi truck around for the dirt track. Joey Lombardo by far has the 100% best impression of Eric Bostrom ever.
I'd
He's
love to
got
hear
that, dude. He's got that and Earl Hayden down. Like
it.
his
Okay.
Earl Hayden is solid. I mean,
Nice.
rest in peace, the guy. But
Yeah.
man, Joey's like family to those guys, right? So yeah. Anyway,
Nice. That's
just
awesome.
thought if you ever run into him, you gotta introduce him to your boss and then your team owner and have him do Eric Bostrom.
Yeah.
I'm just
Exactly.
saying. Abram wonders what you would do on MotoAmerica on the Pirellis, which is, I think
Oh,
you said it.
I would like to say that lap times would be different. I think we would have that little bit of an edge on the Pirellis. Um, but I haven't been able to put a set of Pirellis on the BMW yet to really try and kind of see where the differences are. So it might
Yeah,
take a second, but I would love to try it.
that'd be sick, dude. That would be
Hmm.
sick. Brandon Hope wants to know who are some of the names of the riders that you grew up racing with in California.
Oh, man, I was actually thinking about this the other day. We had Tucker Lancaster, Andre Oaks, Anthony Mazziato. Funny enough, I'd race with him pretty often. Brandon Posh, as I was leaving the 125s, he was kind of coming up on that, so I never really got to ride with him, but he was around. Alex Wisdom. Trying to think of who the really fast people were. Andre Oaks was the guy. Like every time I went to USGPRU, Andre Oaks was like the benchmark. Trying to get all those guys to go and be able to keep up with them. But nowadays, dude, freaking the Kettleson kiddo, Brendan, he's fast as shit. So now I'm just trying to keep up with him, trying to get everything going with that. Um, yeah, man, it's hard. I look back and there's so many cool names that I've had an awesome opportunity to ride with, but those are definitely the ones that stick out.
That's crazy. I got an Oaks story. I got an
Yeah.
Andre
Oh
Oaks
yeah.
story. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I'd love to
We were
hear
at
it.
Chuckwalla. I think it was like 2012, maybe. He had an R6 and his dad had just painted it and it was all red and white. It was all sweet looking. And then I don't know, he has a mechanical or something, and Crash Truck Richie's got to go out there and pick him up. Well, anybody that's ever seen Crash Truck Richie drive the Crash Truck knows that Richie drives it like he stole it, basically, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the fuck happened, but he strapped Oaks's bike to the little trailer that he tows around out there, and he must not have strapped it too good, or maybe he just cleared the double out there with the trailer. But Oaks's bike kind of tipped over and got scratched the
uh,
body up a little bit, and so yeah, this guy had to pay for a new paint job for the kid. And I
oh,
was just like,
dude.
that sucks, but
Uh,
it was the right thing to do. And then
yeah.
I had a one-way conversation with Richie after.
Yeah.
That's my Oaks
Uh,
story.
nice.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
they weren't too long in the sport, I don't think. I mean, they didn't last as long. I mean, the sport kind of spits people out, right? It's that rate of
Yeah.
attrition that constantly cycles in and out, right?
Yeah. It's
So,
hard.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
the
racing,
last
yeah,
time Andre got hurt pretty good, I think it was at Road America, like 2014 or something like that. He got hurt
yeah.
pretty good, and I haven't really seen him come back from that.
Was that in that whole mix with Linders?
I think so.
On the
I think
yeah, that
so.
gnarly one, it was like Tyler
Yeah.
Linders and yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
another kid I grew up riding with is Linders, Daytona
yeah,
Anderson, all those guys
yeah. Ben
back in the day.
Truslow and,
Yeah.
yeah, dude. Like, the whole
Dude,
class
Josh.
of kids, right? Jason
Yeah, Josh
Aguilar,
Tomei. Yes, Jason Aguilar, Andrew Lee. I've grown up riding with Andrew since I was like 7.
Michael Gilbert.
Michael Gilbert, another one.
Yeah, like he was kind of the last man standing, sort of, from that particular class of kids that came up at the same time, and
Yep.
you know, he, I guess, took over the family business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I haven't seen him in a while.
I guess he went and did some endurance race with Andrew Lee and JP.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
world, was it World Endurance? I don't
Yeah.
know.
WEC.
Yeah. So let's see here. There's Brendan Kettleson says that was it's fun to race you. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that and it was a fun. Was it a fun race at Brainerd for you?
Yeah, it was a fun race for sure. Especially race two was a good one, but definitely just knowing that I could be up there in the mix is definitely a confidence booster, and it's nice to just be there. It's nice to have all the work that everybody's been putting into the program be fulfilled. It's really nice to see. And then yeah, riding with Brendan, I didn't really get to ride with him a whole lot at this last AFM race last weekend, but racing with them in the past, we had an AFM weekend a couple months ago at Buttonwillow. And dude, I knew that he had the pace on me, but the first lap I got the jump on him. And honestly, man, I was just trying to stuff him everywhere. And I made kind of a ballsy pass from way back, and I came from nowhere and almost took out his front wheel. And I felt so bad about it, but I was like, I have nothing. Like, I know as soon as he gets in front of me, he's gone. But yeah, it's fun to ride with Brendan.
So that Brandon Hope guy says, AFM racing's pretty legendary, but then comes along CRA, and he says you can't deny California's dominance in racers that AFM has helped get faster. Is that
I obviously I've ridden AFM for a very long time. I think I've only done one or two CRA rounds, maybe. And it's honestly, yeah, like they're saying, the level of racing that we've had, California, West Coast, whatever it might be,
yeah?
uh, it's uh, it's hard for me to describe in a kind way. I think some of the best racers
Dude,
have
be
come
it
from this
describe it in a real way, bro.
area.
You don't gotta
Honestly,
be
dude, it's
kind here. Fuck, bro.
I've had the luxury, the pleasure to get my ass kicked by some of the fastest racers around, whether it's been Cameron Bobier, Jake Gagne's not always been on the West Coast, but he's been there and done that. I mean, Peterson, all those guys, being
Yeah.
able to ride with them, grow up with them, and get my ass absolutely kicked, but learn and get faster and faster and faster. I haven't been somewhere else outside of Spain where you get that type of competition and everybody's willing to help each other get better.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 clubs in California. I helped kinda start 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not involved in racing. I'm not involved in government anymore. But, it's hard. I mean, people talk about AFM being like the fastest club in the country, but those people probably haven't seen CMRA, right? I've heard CMRA, like that Texas, Oklahoma club, like that club is fierce, you know.
Yeah,
Um and CVMA is pretty fierce in the wintertime because that's where all the national guys are going because it's the
yeah,
only place still racing in the
yep,
winter. So it's pretty savage there. WSMC kind of back in the day used to fit that description too, right?
yeah,
Um, back in the day, Sean even is saying it's like, dude, I mean, I can remember being in a club race grid with like Anthony Gobert,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, Jamie Hacking, Anthony Gobert, and then there's me. I'm just like, wow, bro, right? So, I mean, that's kind of like the vibe people are getting now at Chuckwalla.
Yep.
CRA, it looked like it was maybe going to start doing something like that. I don't know if it's going to get there, but certainly there's some stuff there that you know attracts people. I guess they raced last weekend, so
Yeah.
um,
I think, dude, anywhere you go now, whether it's West Coast, East Coast, Central, there's always going to be fast riders. And exactly like you were saying, I mean, it's you get professional riders and then you get club riders that might not necessarily have a professional license, but they definitely have the speed. So
Right.
it's just, as long as you kind of know who to look for, it doesn't really matter where you
Yeah.
go. You're going to get that level of competition where everybody can get better.
Right. Do you do you choose to race in a certain club over another just because you want to go where the fast guys are? Or like, what kind of advice would you give somebody that wants to get their license and do this and wants to be competitive? Like, where would you advise them to go?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is location, which might sound stupid, but at the end of the day, if you can't get to the races, you're not going to help yourself or anybody else out. So
Right.
finding something that's doable as far as travel wise is number one for me. Number two would be being able to find a club, a championship, whatever you might want to call it, that fits the type of bike that you're riding. So, for example, if you're going to go get an R6, just to be generic, you can ride an R6 anywhere. You know, everywhere is
Right.
going to have a class for it. But if you're going to go get a vintage, like RS 250, which it hurts me to say that they're vintage, but I love those bikes. But there's not very many places that have classes for those. So being able
Right.
to kind of pick and choose, like, what bike am I riding, what do I want, those are the big two, I would say. And then, like we were just saying, as far as speed goes, everywhere is going to have fast riders now. Everybody is going to have that next level. For me, I go where I'm told. I have
You go
contracts that
where you
I've
don't.
yeah, I have contracts that I've signed that say you have to
Yeah,
be here at
dude.
this date. So that's where I go. But it's a fun time either way, and as long as you're riding, can't complain.
Right on. Well, you know what, man? We're a little bit over an hour on this one. Do you wanna give anybody a shout out or thank a sponsor, or talk about your
Yeah,
favorite
man.
brand of beer? Like,
Honestly, the biggest thing I'd like to say is just thanks for everybody for being here, and thank you, Dustin, for having me on the show. I appreciate it, and huge shout out to my fiance for putting up with my shit. She's currently not feeling super great right now, so I'm gonna go make some soup for her right now.
oh wow,
But yeah,
what a
it's
guy!
been an
What a
awesome.
guy!
I'm trying. I only got 4 fingers, but I'll make the most
And
of it.
and then where do you
Uh,
when do you head for the Ridge?
I head for the Ridge tomorrow, so I actually fly out around like 3 p.m. tomorrow, and then I'll be up there. I have some MotoAmerica stuff I need to deal with once I get there, and go from there.
Right on, man. Well, again, everybody, thanks for watching this thing. And just want to remind you all that the new weekend hangover shirts that I have here promoting the show that Ricky, Bobby, and I do after the races, $30. And all you got to do is send me $30 and your address, and one will be on the way. Supply is running lean already because the lunatics in the comments have already been buying them. So really appreciate it of that. And dude, best of luck this weekend, dude. Whoop that ass. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm excited.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you tomorrow night with Mark DeGrasse. See ya. Yeah, that.